Hey guys, it's John with Mr. Yogi Nerd, and today we're going to be shooting into a video talking about exactly what happens when your social life is in the garbage because of your health. Now, I've actually dealt with this problem for most of my life, and I've looked into as many sources as I possibly could from self-help for decades. So, right now I'm currently 34, and I've been in self-help since 14 years old. I got into it with Christianity, and I really wanted to start to understand how can I not be shy. And back then I even had health issues, and when I had health issues, I just felt like socializing was a million times as hard. And so over the years, since I was 14, over the last 20 years, I've been tackling this problem. And I've been dealing with this problem because it was so hard for me to understand who I was, who I wanted to date, how to talk to women, and it caused me a lot of emotional pain. Not understanding exactly how to talk to women was really the main thing for me. Now, you know, you might get a fluke girlfriend in high school. Like, I had an amazing British girlfriend in high school, and that carried me for a good 6 years. It was a wonderful relationship. But we all know what happens when that doesn't work out. So when we broke up, then my life just totally went into the gutter. And it wasn't necessarily even because of the relationship, it was just because I was on a downward trajectory as it was. And so, with bad social life comes bad health, and vice versa too. With bad health comes bad social life. This is something that I've just learned over the years. And they both really feed into each other and they impact each other. And so a lot of people, they don't think that social life impacts their health, but it does tremendously, you know? And a big problem that I've had throughout my life is having a tendency to just stay inside, play video games, not be as active. That was in my younger years when I was like a teenager and maybe early 20s. But then as I went into my 20s and 30s and got really big into self-help, I realized I was kind of doing the same thing, except for instead of doing too many video games, I was just into spirituality, reading self-help books, and I just wouldn't go out and socialize because I didn't understand where I wanted to be. I didn't understand where I belonged. And, I wandered around a lot in society. Like, what I mean by that is I didn't necessarily even know if I was like a Christian. I didn't know if I could go to church and socialize. And when I had an atheist period, I obviously wasn't going to church. I didn't really have a place to go. And I didn't really, resonate with alcohol or bars. I didn't really want to go out and party, so I wouldn't go out to clubs. And to be honest, I was pretty shy. And so I didn't really have a friend group who wanted to go out and do that kind of stuff. And so for years, I just did not do anything social, really. I wasn't building a social life. I didn't have a group of friends that went and had like Taco Tuesday. I didn't have a Sunday sports group. I wasn't involved in any social sporting. And, back in high school and college, I did all these things. And when I did all these things in high school and college, my life felt great. I felt connected. Life in college was the best. Went to FAU here in Florida in Boca. And every single day you're seeing your friends. You're playing sports. And you're connected. It's easy to make friends. It's easy to meet your potential mate because you're constantly interacting with people. They're encouraging you to do projects together and study together and work out together and work on campus. But once college ended, all that went down the drain. And I just started working the security job, doing night shifts. It was probably the worst decision of my life. Besides going down the atheist rabbit hole, that was definitely the worst decision of my life. And so what I realized was, when I was interconnected and had a social group, my health was amazing. And my life just felt great. So, like, I had this girlfriend, constantly hanging out with friends, constantly had something to do in terms of like college. And that's when I was physically the strongest. I still remember I could pound down Angus burgers. I would constantly be eating even like whole grain bread, PB&J, tons of milk. And I wasn't obsessed at all about it being like organic. I didn't give a crap. I would eat cookies. I was just like in bulk mode, you know? I was big into weightlifting, and back then, I think my max deadlift was like 445, and my max squat was like 390. I was a big boy. And yeah, I was a little bit, I wasn't fat. I wasn't lean though. I was probably like 16% body fat. But yeah, I loved my life. I felt great. You know, I'd play video games with the guys and my girlfriend, and we were big into Pokemon. We'd get these emulators on our laptop, and we'd just finish our homework, have a burger, watch a movie, play some Pokemon, listen to a podcast of like the Bible. And you know, my life was full. On the weekends, I'd be volunteering at church, and it was me and my girlfriend. We were volunteering with the little kids. We were like doing the Sunday school, the elementary school, the youth group, the young adults, and then just going to church. And I was involved with like the old folks home. So you know, we always had stuff to do. We would even volunteer for 4Kids, which is an orphanage. And so we had a lot going on. We were really social with Christianity and the church, and it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And the thing in my heart was just, I just want to love people. That's what Jesus said. I just want to love people. And man, it correlates to health. Being social correlates to health bigly, in a huge way. Because contrast that with, you know, I started doubting my Christianity. I started doubting if I could really be like a missionary. I started doubting the Bible because I went out and I was trying to like preach and heal people, and it wasn't working. So actually, looking back, that was one of my favorite times in my life, is when I was getting into different philosophies of Christianity and going out to Walmarts and groceries and just praying for people who were sick and had like crutches or wheelchairs, random people, and really putting the Bible to the test. But you know, long story short, I got disappointed because it wasn't really working. And so I had a period of doubt, and I really, really did doubt. And I became an atheist for a while. I think for like a year and a half, I became an atheist. And I experimented with throwing out all of my conditioned morals, and really started to experiment with what life is like if I just live my way for pleasure. And so I wasn't really a drug guy, but I got into porn, and I just started feeling weak, and I just had these bad habits that started to suck me down and suck me dry. And I think even worse than the porn, believe it or not, I think was that I wasn't socially connected. So I stopped going to the same church, and you know, part of the reason was I felt people giving me the evil eye, because me and my girlfriend broke up, and then all the girls were probably talking about it. And so I noticed the girls were giving me the evil eye. I didn't really have a reason to go because I was like an atheist. And so that whole social part of my life fell apart. And remember, I'm not in college anymore. And I'm just working. And I'm working night shifts. And so that's stupid too. And so I just traded away my health and didn't really understand how it was going to feel if I wasn't as social, because I never really experimented with that in my life. I'm just this new person to the world, the big bad world. And I kind of felt invincible, but even within just like 6 months, I'm feeling like a zombie. I'm feeling weird. I just go to my night shift, bullcrap job, watch some anime, eat, stay up all night, come home, try and get some rest, but it sucks. And my life wasn't going anywhere. And I was quick to discover, wow, like my life is empty. And I'm starting to feel weak. Like I didn't even feel like working out. I used to always love to work out. It was great. Like I was setting new records and felt passionate about it. I feel pumped up on my music and my digestion was great. But all of a sudden now, I'm feeling like I don't feel motivated. I don't feel like I even want to. I feel discouraged. I feel like I just have to do it or else I'm just going to lose all my muscle. And it wasn't motivational at all. I just felt like I was doing it so that I wouldn't be pathetic, instead of feeling like I'm doing this because I love it. I'm doing this because it makes me feel great. I'm doing this because it's a tool for self-growth. No, I was in coping big time. And I started to feel like I had off-putting energy. My health was going down the drain. I was overeating a little bit more. And I wasn't the same person at all. And that's when I realized something has to change. So that was the first existential crisis I had in my life. It really hit me. One day I woke up after my rest. It was like 1 or 2 p.m. I just felt like garbage. And I was like, man, now I gotta eat and like get ready for my bullcrap job. And it's just been like this for months and months and months. I'm feeling so out of it. I'm like, where's my life going? I had no one to really like talk to or reflect about. And my degree is exercise science. And so, I didn't really know what to do with it. It's a stepping stone degree. And I didn't want to go be a chiropractor. It was too much money. I was stuck and I was lonely. I was isolated. But I didn't really even understand why I felt so bad. And so I just realized, like, I just kind of like knelt at my bed. And I was just like, I felt like crying, to be honest. I still remember I felt so pathetic, clueless. And I just said to myself, I was like, man, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm such a fool. Like, my life is just like, I feel so broken. And I just need wisdom. Like, even if there's not a God, there must be like something called wisdom. And so I just said, well, I'm going to go after wisdom then. And so from then on, I made a commitment. Like inside me, I felt such pain. It's like I hit rock bottom. And I just realized like I need to change or else like it's going to get worse. And that's a scary thing to think about because it was already so bad. And so that was my first scrap with the devil of depression. But I was able to come out of it just by studying personal training again. I got a job at Stretch Zone where it's like I actually have coworkers. I'm more social. And believe me, I was like nervous. Like I was nervous to like step it up a little bit and to start doing something that was actually like, responsibility. Because I shirked additional responsibility for so long, just working a stupid, easy job that didn't really require any brain power or socializing. And so I got this new job. And I have like, I'd say 6 coworkers, and we're all in this little boutique. Imagine like, you just walk in, and it's like a little massage shop, but the lights are all on. There's like 6 massage tables. Everyone's dressed. People just come in and you give them a massage. Well, no, you stretch them out on the table. So it's like older people come in, athletes come in, And you're always talking with your coworkers, you're always talking with your clients. And I got a lot of socializing from that. I really did. Because every single day I'm like talking with my clients. You always talk with them. And every single day I'm talking with my coworkers. It gave me like somewhat of a social life. And so I felt like I came back to life. That 1 year working at Stretch Zone, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's really just the social aspect. That's really what it was. I didn't put two and two together back then, but now it's so obvious that that's really what it was. That, and I felt like I was inspired again. I felt like I was looking for a higher mission. That's when I got turned on to being a chiropractor again. And this is actually before I knew how much money it was going to be a chiropractor. And so I felt like, I was listening to podcasts again, and I was learning about health, and I was having these like ambitions, like I want to be a healer. Like I remember what it felt like to want to be a healer in Christianity. And I was listening to Napoleon Hill and Tony Robbins. I was trying to understand my psychology and understand relating to people. I was trying to understand my emotions and my health. Just slowly piecing things together, right? And still didn't really have good girlfriend relationships. Didn't have really the best romantic relationships. Just little dates here and there with girls. And so that's still something that I was working on. And I feel like that's something that I'm still working on, and that we're all probably still working on. And that, even if you're married, it's still a good idea to keep on working on relationship knowledge, deep psychology, personal growth, because you can always become a better person. You can always become a better husband. But right now I'm even just at the level of trying to understand who exactly I want to build a life with, how to attract the exact mate that I would really want to be with. And this whole meditation on social, what it really means to be like a social human being, it's very deep, but it's very important. I feel like, we haven't been educated. We haven't been educated sufficiently about this at all. At all. It's like, if you grow up and you have a group of friends and you're constantly just like involved in church, then you just learn it over the years naturally, right? But if you're one of the people, like a lot of guys nowadays, that you don't socialize as much, and you kind of don't get involved in sports as much or church, and you just kind of go to school, and maybe you go to college, but unless if you have a job that keeps you very social, or if you're very deliberate about being social and going out, meeting new people, and going and getting invited. Like some people, they just get it taken care of one way or another. But I also know that for a lot of people, it doesn't get taken care of automatically. And so they end up isolating. And it's so bad for your health. And I know this because I see some of my friends, and I see my life, and I see the periods of my life where I'm not social, and I'm more isolated. And that is when depression, anxiety, bad health sets in big time. And it's so obvious now looking back. And it actually creates a downward spiral when you're not very social, because your energy decreases, your charisma decreases, your health decreases, your looks decrease, and then you're less likely to even be interesting. And when you walk up to people, the way that you show up is kind of like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. You just feel like you're out of touch, you're a little bit creepy, you want friends so bad, you want validation so bad, you want sex so bad, that it just comes off as like this black hole. Like you're not in this secure, stable place where you can just be normal and giving. Like your energy is just like, please like me, like I'm cool, like please give me the warmth that I'm craving right now. And it's just very off-putting. And so if you're in that place, then the question is, well, how do I start getting positive momentum? How do I start actually like erasing all of this like negative energy? How do I start like gaining back my health? Because your energy and your health is like a big deal. Like people actually, medical evidence actually shows loneliness is actually horrible for your health. Oh my God, wow, that smells really good actually. That smells like ice cream. It smells so sweet. Wow, this is a very sweet tree. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell that. That was incredible. Wow. It literally smelled like Haagen-Dazs. Oh man. And so, if it's so unhealthy to be lonely, how do you break that spiral of being lonely? And this is something that is kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky. Because you have to find your own way in, you know? And you have to be able to analyze your own predicament. You know, like, you have to customize social life to you. So the thing that I would always say when somebody realizes that they're feeling low energy, maybe fat, maybe you gained weight, low energy, you're not feeling yourself, maybe your complexion has changed, you have acne and you're not happy about that, your self-esteem is going down because of that, and you're just feeling like you're not on top of your game. You don't feel like you're who you really want to be. And you feel like you're getting sucked into this vortex of isolation because maybe you've tried to socialize. Maybe you've tried to go out and talk to people and make friends. Maybe you've got shut down. You know, this happened to me plenty of times where, you know, I'll fast forward in life. I'll fast forward from where we left off, probably like plus 7 years, right? So in that meantime, I got my own little massage therapy business, and I just grinded it out for those 7 years, just saved up a lot of money, but I wasn't really social again. You know, I was just talking to my clients one-on-one, but I wasn't super social. And so once I figured out my money situation, and once I figured out, you know, I got some passive income coming on because I made good investments, I realized, I was like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I was practicing yoga so much, and I was reframing the world and my social life, just thinking, you know, it's not really that important to have like fame or like, you know, popularity. I thought it was kind of shallow. And so that's what I call now spiritually bypassing, is when you try to bypass normal challenges in life by pretending like you're spiritual, by pretending like you can just control your mind and meditate through it. But what I found is that when you do that, you actually make your life way worse, because you neglect building certain skills and emotional maturity that actually is very important. That actually is spiritual growth, not just sitting in a room, not just trying to meditate and hiding from real life. This life is a real life training ground. It's like a battleground. And if you hide from it, then you're actually hiding from what you're supposed to be doing here. That's supposed to grow you. And so that was a big mistake. And what I was hiding from was women. What I was hiding from was other men who intimidated me because I felt like they were more savvy, more confident, more socially intelligent, more emotionally intelligent. And so I would just work my little job, go home, read my little books, and do my little meditations for like 3 hours a day, you know? And I would ignore and suppress and repress my loneliness. And I definitely felt the impact of it until I finally realized I can't hide from this anymore. You know, I found an amazing mentor online. His name is Owen Cook, and he kind of explained this problem with such clarity. And I realized what I've been doing. And I said, all right, well, I literally do feel the loneliness. I feel the lonely. So how do I start socializing? And so I would go for the low-hanging fruit. I would go to church and I would socialize there. But what I found was I really didn't know what I was doing, and people would kind of brush me off and ignore me. I wouldn't understand, frame or social cues to the extent enough to make people want to actually like get to know me and hang out. And I felt like it was such a struggle trying to understand how to actually make friends in my 30s. I felt like I was a little bit behind, and I felt like I didn't understand, I didn't really understand what I wanted clear enough, or how really to relate to people, right? And so I just had a lot of like acquaintances, like not even, just people that you talk to for like a minute or two. And so I really didn't understand how to connect, and even going to like small groups or like men's Bible studies, I always kind of felt like everybody was just like in their ego, and that just means that I too was probably in my ego, and didn't really build close relationships. I just felt like it was always surface level. It was always kind of like people not really showing beyond the mask, and I felt like everyone was just like trying to show how much they knew, right? And it kind of pissed me off. It really pissed me off, to be honest. And so that really didn't help either, because then, instead of understanding why guys do that and how I do that too, and approaching it with tact, I would kind of approach it with like this slight amount of bitterness, slight amount of like disdain, and I would kind of like make fun of people. I kind of like mock people, because deep down I was kind of hurting. I was kind of in pain. I was kind of lonely, and I was upset, and I was resentful about how I would get like, I don't know, laughed at sometimes, or I don't know, like I just felt like I wasn't making connections, and that other guys would I don't know, sometimes they would feel more smooth, or they would kind of laugh at my social awkwardness and tease me, and I wouldn't like it, right? And so it was a struggle. It really was. And so even in church, everybody still has an ego, and to be honest, people at church are the same as everybody else, obviously, but they act like they're self-righteous. And so that's actually it's really everybody's problem with people who are religious, is that they act like they know, and they act like they have it all together, and they act like they're somebody because of what they know. And a lot of times they're fake too. A lot of times that shame of they really don't show who they really are. They'll watch R-rated shows, they'll watch porn, they'll smoke weed, but then like at church they don't talk about that, and they hide it. So there's a certain element of like being fake too. So I decided I don't really want to like socialize at church. It just feels weird. And so I started going out, and I started going to different like clubs and bars and chatting with people. And really it was a struggle. It really was. And it was hard on my health. It really was. Because when you're isolated, when you're lonely, when you don't have like really close groups, when you don't have your tribe, you kind of have this feeling like you feel a little bit insecure. You feel like you have something to prove. You feel like there might even be something wrong with you. because you just want to relate to people, and you're wondering, like, why is this so hard? Like, why don't people like call me back? Why don't people come out to the invites that I give them? You know, I had certain friends, but I really wanted to make like female friends. I wanted to get a girlfriend. I wanted to be more of like an influential guy. And I didn't understand how I was coming off. And so there's a lot of blind spots that I had. A lot of blind spots. And the reason I'm saying all this is because it's understandable when you start trying to go back out again that there's going to be resistance. It's not going to be the most easy thing. Unless if you're just like very well balanced and you have social understanding, you have social intelligence and emotional intelligence. Well, I really didn't. And I really had to work on it, and I'm still working on it. And there's a lot of insecurities to iron out. And the whole thing being is that it's hard on your health to be lonely, and it's hard on your health to get rejected too. And so you're lonely, and it's bad for your health, it's bad for your mental health, it's bad for your physical health. So you want to fix it. And then when you try to go out, you know, you face resistance, you face ridicule, you face rejection, especially when it comes to women, and you have to get used to it. So I didn't understand how to like interpret social interactions. And so I didn't have thick skin. Sniff this tree again. That is delicious, man. That is delicious. My favorite kind of tree right here. Red birch, or whatever the hell it is. Whew. So, you know, I really didn't understand the context of how to interpret social interactions. And so I easily got offended. You know, that's cortisol, that's stress, it's not good. I'd be nervous and have anxiety going out alone. And, you know, so I really relate to people who, you know, maybe you're also a gamer or a nerd. Maybe you work like a tech job. Maybe you're a software developer. And maybe you just don't socialize as much in your job like me. I was a massage therapist for like 10 years. And so you didn't build up all the skills that you really need. And so maybe you're kind of resigning yourself. Maybe you're kind of saying to yourself, well, I'm just going to be comfortable with my family. I'm just going to be comfortable at the temple, or I'm going to just be comfortable in my bedroom, and I'm going to go on like Reddit. And you have figured out like your online life. And maybe you've even just decided like, you know, this is just the way it is. Maybe you've just decided, you know, it's overrated to have a girlfriend, or maybe you're just telling yourself it'll happen naturally one day. And so you're kind of neglecting this area of your life where you're not building up your social skills. You're not building up your networking skills. You're not building up your charisma. You're not building up your swag, which you might even think like that's a dirty word, like swag. I don't want to be a swagster. That's for like high school. But really, it's just another word for charisma, guys. Women love charisma. And if you don't have any charisma, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because that is just the raw jungle facts of how people operate. You know, you have to get their attention. You have to have a certain level of like charisma, enthusiasm, even in business, even in networking. You know, communication is very important. And it's not something to just be neglected and thrown by the side, because then you might just be lonelier and lonelier and lonelier. And that's not a good formula. It's really not. It's not a good formula for your health. It's not a good formula for your life. And I've had to learn that the hard way these past 20 years, trying to understand socializing, trying to understand health. I thought we were going down the mountain. We're going back up. Come on now. And so I've worked out exactly how to do this, because I've struggled with it so long. I understand what it's like to be a hard gainer. I understand what it's like to be sick, unhealthy, low energy, no charisma. and quite honestly, to be very clueless about how to start socializing. You know, where to go, what venues to go to, what to say, what your core passions really are, what you're interested in, how to not be stifled. So this is a huge topic, really is. What I'd say is you gotta start small. And what I say is you gotta talk to the best of the best. So I'm still in my process regarding charisma, socializing, creating the social life that I want. And I'll keep you guys updated on that as I build that out. It's gonna be a really good time, right? So what I will tell you though is the best way to get started is to start working on your health. And the reason why that is really to socialize, you need to have good energy. And the easiest way to start having good energy is to just get yourself healthy. Because it's gonna be hard to even motivate yourself to get out, let's be honest, if you don't have good energy. You're just gonna want to pacify and medicate yourself with food or drugs or video games. You're not gonna have enough energy to really get yourself out. And so whatever it is for you, you know, maybe you've let yourself gain 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. You know, you can change that. You can change that. And if you really want to improve your life and not get like really a horrible life, like a disease or just mental stagnation, even worse brain fog, even a worse social life, worse relationships, worse coping mechanisms, because you're going to be in pain. You know, why do you think people go to like harder and harder drugs and alcohol and more isolation? You're just like, people just roll this snowball of copium, and then they need copium. And a lot of people, they live a life of coping. They live a life of lying to themselves and hiding, and you can see it deteriorates their soul, because they're not facing the challenges that men are supposed to face. They're not winning the battles that they're supposed to win. They're not going out and being the man that can attract a quality woman. So you see people settle for like unattractive mates or abusive relationships. You see people resort more and more to coping mechanisms. You see people having worse and worse mental health that bleeds into their dysfunctional relationships. And you know, one big part of why people abuse each other in relationships is because they're depending so much on that person for good energy, that if that person disappoints them in any way, then they get abused. And it's just like, it's all about energy, vampirism. It's all about power games. It's all about controlling the frame and making yourself feel like you're the right one and they're the wrong one, whereby you keep on getting these little dopamine hits. So you become a vampire. You literally become an energy vampire. Instead of having good, clean energy because you're healthy and because you're sourcing energy from helping the world, from being on point, being on purpose, from sharpening your skills, from getting 1% better every year, from getting out and helping people, from being generous, from being this outpouring. Instead, people start being selfish because they're in coping. They're not the source of their own energy, and so they want to get it from others. And so they develop all these weird personality traits. They become emotional, verbal bullies. They become cynical. They become insecure. And they develop philosophies of the world that are just for losers, let's be honest. Like, you all know, we all know people who have these like very victim complexes, very critical complexes, just always feeling like they're superior and blaming other people. That's just because they're addicted to getting that dirty energy from criticism, from just acting like they're above, from triangulating, talking shit. It's because they aren't at the cause of their own good energy. They have to get it from somewhere, and they get tempted by this evil energy, these other evil sources, and you see how it distorts their philosophy of life. And that's sad, because that's getting at the root of a person. It's like, if you change their philosophy of life, then you're kind of ingraining them. And that's horrible. Okay. I don't want to go to either of these places. Deer Mountain Summit, Aspingland Campground. No, going back to the road. And so it's kind of like putting together the pieces of the puzzle and really understanding why people are acting the way they act, and how just being physically healthier will actually be such a good starting point. It's actually the essential starting point. When people want to like break free and improve their life in any direction, you have to have energy to really do anything. And a lot of people neglect this, and they just depend on like energy drinks or alcohol and all of these crutches that really just, they cut you off at the knees, and they make life much harder moving forward. It's just a very, very bad strategy. And so why do people do that? People do that because they don't understand how to get that same positive effect, but in a healthy way, obviously. Because if people knew how to get that same result as like the cigarettes and the energy drink, but they knew how to get it in a healthy way, they would do it, because there's no drawback. But right now, they're doing it because it's still worth it. You know, they still want the energy. They still want the ability to go out and like socialize. So they use the liquid courage, the booze, the beer. They smoke the cigarettes. Part of it is that it makes them feel cool. Part of it is that it makes them have energy. And so people are resorting to all these crutches, not knowing that there's a healthy alternative. And yoga lays all this out, and yoga makes it crystal clear how to actually become the source of amazing energy. Energy that's so amazing that it's literally better than smoking weed. Energy that's so amazing that it's literally better than an energy drink. Energy that's so good that it makes you feel like you're becoming a better person. And so the science of yoga isn't just about stretching your body. The science of yoga is understanding your entire system, how to feed it, how to sleep well, how to think well, how to relate to the world in a more healthy way. Yoga is basically awareness and meditating on your life and becoming so aware and perceptive of every single influence on you, and being the master and the strategist and the general of every single one of those influences, so that you can become the master of your own life and your destiny. So yoga is much more than what people really perceive it to be. Yoga is about becoming so meditative and perceptive in your day-to-day life, right now, that you understand what you're doing to yourself with the water that you drink, the place that you live, the words that you speak, the relationships that you have, the amount of sleep that you get. And it's also the esoteric aspects of what happens when you do these yoga asanas, the postures. How does that influence your energy systems? How does that influence your organ systems? How does that influence your hormonal systems? How does that influence your neuroendocrine systems, basically your brain hormones and chemicals? And so all of these things, whether you're doing the yoga postures, we call those yoga asanas, or doing the breath work, we call that pranayama, or doing the meditation, we can call that pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, concentration, full meditation, withdrawal of the senses. There's a lot of different things that you can do with meditation, but the low-hanging fruit always is taking hold of the basics of what you do every single day, which is basically what you eat and how you eat and food IQ. You know, to be honest, it's like people mess this up in such a big way and such a basic thing that you're literally ruining your life just by not paying attention to how you eat, what you eat, when you eat. Food IQ. Like, it's totally true what they say, you are what you eat. But you also are how you eat and when you eat. You know, people eat right before bed, you're ruining your energy, you're ruining your hormones, you're taxing your organs, and you're gonna start falling apart sooner or later. And people don't pay attention to this. They're shoveling down food in the wrong combinations. They're drinking carbonated drinks. They're stressing out their system in such horrible ways. They're eating poison every day, and poison's everywhere, in the water, in the food, and they haven't focused enough. You know, people haven't focused enough on protecting themselves and being vigilant, a health warrior, a Jedi. So what's been happening is the dark side, all these stormtroopers and Darth Vader, figuratively, have been deceiving them and selling them all these bullcrap foods and fake health supplements. And so now their body's toxic. And so it's time to detox. It's time to detox. It's time to start understanding food IQ. And so what I've done is I made a little 7-day challenge because I want people to have a quick intro that lays out everything that we just talked about in terms of how to detox, what kind of foods to eat. So it just gives you recipes. You don't have to learn everything at the same time. You know, this is going to be a lifelong journey of understanding health in your body. You know, Socrates said, know thyself. Part of knowing thyself is understanding, well, what kind of fuel is best for this body? How does my physical health influence my mental health? How does my social health influence my mental health and my physical health? And so you gotta start piecing the puzzle together. You gotta start understanding how each of them interrelates. And I'm telling you, using the physical body as a leverage point to start increasing your ability and your competency in your mind and in every other aspect of your life is the way to start. And if you don't, then you're gonna struggle way more than you should. Really, I'm serious. The point that people are at nowadays with how toxic they are and what kind of food that they're eating is pathetic. It's literally end of the empire type stuff. It's literally BS. If you look back even like 40, 50 years, the amount of nutrition in an apple and anything, it's like 5 times more than now. So people are in big danger when it comes to the food that they're eating. Not only that, but the meat, all the food that you're getting, the fake food, there used not to be like hydrogenated oils and seed oils and nut butters that are like roasted. There's even fake health foods out there, guys. And so you might be eating things that you think are healthy, but honestly, there's a lot of scams out there. And so what I'm here to do is help you cut through all the scams, all the confusion, all the complexity. And that's why I created this free 7-day yogi cleanse. It's because in the end, it's gonna skyrocket your hormones, your testosterone. Wow. Stones are amazing. This is just a beautiful one. Huge. So the whole thing being, all you gotta do is take herbs in the morning, triphala, ghee, some gaduchi, turmeric, and neem. You take some herbs in the morning and that completely starts cleaning out your gut, starts detoxing you, strengthens your detox organs, your kidneys and your liver. And so even just in 7 days, you're pulling toxins out of your tissues, out of your brain, out of your organs. And then on the 7th day, you purge it all out like a whirlwind, like a tsunami. You're gonna purge it all out by just taking castor oil. And you're gonna just poop pounds of waste, pounds of waste. You know, they say the average person is holding 10 to 20 pounds of toxic waste in their colon. Well, it's not just in your colon, it's in your whole body. That's why you need to know the herbs that will suck it out of your tissues, suck it out of your brain, and just clean your gut. You know, because I call the gut the second brain. It's true. It's because there's trillions of different hormone-secreting organisms living in there. And so you gotta clean it out. There's parasites, there's fungus, there's mold, there's candida, there's bacteria. Nasty. You know, imagine like Osmosis Jones, all these nasty villains that are literally living in there. And you have to be like Pac-Man and take the super pellet and chase those ghosts the hell out of you. And what this 7-day cleanse is that Pac-Man super pellet. You take it and you're gonna be chasing out those motherfucking ghosts. And you have to do this. The yogis would always start with a cleanse whenever somebody wanted to accomplish something in life. And people treat it like a pilgrimage. They take however long that they need to start purging. Everyone has a different level of toxicity. So click the link in the description. Get the PDF. It's a 7-day PDF. Beautiful. I have 5 recipes in there. Amazon, one click for you to get all the herbs. I don't get anything from this, guys. I just want to get it into your hands because I want more people to be living the yoga lifestyle. Because basically what this means is we're going to have more kind people in the world, more productive people in the world. I don't like it when I go to the store and people don't give a damn. You know, back in Miami, people have a lot of what I call FU energy. They're just coping, they're just stupid, they're derping. They're trying to do as little work as possible. They don't smile at you, you feel like they're annoyed that you're even there in their presence. They lie to try to like get out of helping you. It's just pathetic. That's not the type of humans I like living with. You know, I come here to Colorado and I go to Trader Joe's. People are smiling, people are going above and beyond. People are like complimenting and joking. That's beautiful. You know, that's healthy people. Very healthy people, healthy minds, you know, and good philosophies and connection. You know, we want to be in a world where socially we're connected. We tolerate each other at the very least. Or you just feel so good in your skin that you don't have to try to socialize and help people. You're just happy. You just feel good. So that's the world I want to live in. And, you know, guys, obviously, everybody has to make a living, so I'm not saying that I don't have that motivation at all, but, you know, it's really just about starting the process. It's about starting the relationship. It's about starting the snowball of positivity rolling in the right direction. You know, people get taken care of, but what we have to do is look out for each other initially, right? So I know the pain of being in a tough situation with my health. You know, that's not something that you hold out on somebody for. You know, health, you teach people how to get helped. You know, and down the line, if you need more help, then, you know, we can talk more. But just get the free education. Get the PDF. Let me know how it goes. It's going to be an amazing, fun adventure. You know, these 5 yogi recipes, perfect food combinations, little guidelines on when to eat, like how to do intermittent fasting. Is so easy. It's so easy. So get that link right now. Get it for free. I really care about this. I really want you guys to understand the yogi lifestyle. And it starts with food IQ. It starts with food. Simple as that. So I'm going to wrap this video. I'm going to go eat. It's been an amazing hike down Deer Mountain here in Colorado. And I have a nice little snack waiting for me in the car. Some tahini and some pumpkin seeds, and I'm gonna go home and have a great night. So hope you've enjoyed this. If it's helped you, give it a like and subscribe so that, you know, we can continue this journey together, increasing our health, increasing our mental health, increasing our raw ability in life, you know, taking back the personal power, taking back the energy from the inside, and becoming the source of good energy. That starts with health. All right, so remember, health hackers are the ones that change society by internalizing health. You know, you're the true Jedis who will change society by changing from the inside, and we're a grassroots movement, and we change the health one brain at a time. All right, love you very much. Johnny the Yogi, check it out.